All right, you want to jump into what SaaS vertical is right for you? How
Uh,
honestly, like, okay, so let me give my 2 cents on that. I'll kick this one off. And I'm curious to hear what Davidson has to say about this. I think personally, look, if there's a career that you already have experience in, that's the only time that maybe if there's an industry that you already have experience in, that's the only vertical that maybe you should be picky about. In my opinion, I think tech sales can be so competitive that the way that you should think about this is where can I land my what company. I think the way that you should think of this is what's the best company that you can land at? What's the best opportunity for you? If you want to look into specific verticals, the way that I would reflect on it is where do you already have experience in? So, for example, if you have experience in, cloud data, okay, cool. Maybe go apply to AWS, Google, Microsoft because you have experience in the cloud. Or if you have experience in construction, cool. Go maybe apply to some construction software companies. Or if you have experience with e-com, okay, go apply to Shopify, right? Because you have a competitive advantage there. I think that's a way to really look at that. But I think in summary, if you have some industry experience, great, you can target those companies. But let's just try to get you to the best company that you can land at to start your career. What do
I
you think?
I I love that. So yeah, what Sean says is super brilliant, right? I think a lot of us there's two schools of thoughts here. I've seen people like literally just blind apply to like every SDR position. I wouldn't do that because when you interview, well, one, you're gonna be overwhelmed and you're just not gonna be as focused. So if you like let's say, like I was pre-dental, right? So I always had a passion for medical and healthcare just because like I was a science nerd back in the day. So for me, like let's say the LinkedIn vertical, and for bigger companies, I would say this is more the case, but like some big companies like a Salesforce or Microsoft or LinkedIn, they'll have specific industries where like the non-profit, like you'll only sell to nonprofit or you'll only sell to healthcare, which is so that's helpful because if let's say you are pre-dental or pre-med, then it makes sense for you to apply for that and you can leverage that as a competitive advantage over other people. What Sean said is also correct, where you can like let's say I have a cybersecurity background. If I were you, I would just apply to all the cybersecurity companies out there,
Yeah.
right? Like that makes more sense. But what I've seen people do is like they'll apply to like every industry, like Martech and all this stuff. And I think I mean, to Sean's point, it is very competitive right now. So we want to set expectations that like you might not get into your dream company. Like if your goal is like, hey, I want to get into Google as an SDR, it's like good luck. Like you either have to know someone or you just have to be extra confident, right? But for the rest of us mortal human beings, I would say just apply to the thing that you're passionate about or you have an interest in, like a real interest. People in tech sales are smart. They can sniff out the bullshit, right? So if you're like, let's say you're applying to like MarTech, cybersecurity, management consultant, and like all these other industries, when you interview with them, they'll be like, oh, this guy's just literally just making shit up, right? And for most people, that doesn't work. But because I'm passionate about coaching, when I apply to coaching software companies, coaching SaaS companies, like they can tell, like they'd be like, oh wow, this guy like really is passionate about coaching. You'll have a much higher response rate. You'll have a higher probability of getting an offer, and like you're not going to burn out. Versus like when I was selling like cloud data center software, like yes, the money was good, but I was just not passionate about it, so it just wasn't sustainable, and I left a lot more quickly. Versus when I'm at coaching companies, like not only do I perform better because people can sense it in your way of being, it's just you have connections, you can speak to it, you have context, and people like hiring managers can tell that you're passionate and you're able to jump jobs as well. Like I've seen people skip the SDR role and go straight to account executive because they have been in that industry. Like let's say you're selling mortgage software.
Yeah.
If you've been a mortgage loan originator, you can probably skip a step just because you have that industry.
Yeah. If you're already kind of an industry expert, you can be fit for that account executive role if you have some natural sales abilities. That's a really good point. And if you're sitting here like, oh my gosh, I have no like experience in any industry, that's okay. That's why there's entry level sales roles like SDRs and BDRs where you can get into these organizations at that level. Again, maybe it's not going to be at Google, maybe it's not going to be at Amazon. Shocker that you can't work for the best companies in the world yet, but eventually you can get there. And you know what? A lot of these other software companies pay very well. They have good promotion structures. You're gonna be able to learn from amazing sales leaders. So either way, you're in a great spot. You do all the right things. Go through this course. Go through all of our content. You can land an amazing offer.
All right, so